Lily's suspicions about Damian and Holden grow, and Summer reveals Victor's agenda to Kyle. At Crimson Lights, Summer tells Kyle she was just about to call him. Her mom has been found. You're not even going to believe it. She was kidnapped. It gets even crazier. Sharon was taken captive with her. They were locked up in an abandoned psychiatric clinic. Kyle asks who would do such a thing and why. Summer says they don't know. It wasn't about money as no ransom demand was made. She explains that Nick and Billy found them after getting a text clue from the kidnapper. Kyle marvels that it all sounds so crazy. They puzzle over who would do something so bizarre and why. They're still out there, so what's to stop them from coming after Phyllis, Sharon, or another family member? The truth about young and restless Alan may be more bizarre than you ever imagined. Kyle's sorry Summer's family is being targeted. Summer thanks him for being so solid and supportive. Thank you for caring so much about me. Kyle's smiling into her eyes when Claire walks in. Kyle and Summer bring Claire up to speed on Phyllis' abduction with Sharon. Claire knows how scary that can be. Summer sighs that it's been one thing or another. One psychopath after another attacks her family. She's sure this had more to do with Sharon than her mother. Kyle reminds her they don't know the motive. Summer's glad they spoke to Harrison about it when they did. A kid at school told him his grandma might never come back. It just happened this morning. Luckily, they'd prepared him. Claire is glad Summer came to get Kyle when she did. Summer's glad she approves. Claire assures her cousin that the evening still worked out for her and Kyle. It was a win/win for everyone. Summer fixes a coffee with a glum look as Kyle and Claire make plans to have dinner later and kiss. Claire says goodbye and she's glad her mother is back and then leaves. Summer asks Kyle for lunch. They can talk about how wonderful their son is for an hour or two. Kyle smiles. At Society, Holden spots Audra and teases her about being glued to her phone. She snarks, "Aren't you supposed to be back in Los Angeles?" His flight was cancelled due to weather. She's glad the delay had nothing to do with her. If he said it didn't, he'd be lying. Knowing he'd be stuck here for a while made him think of her. Audra reminds him that their past is just that, the past. Holden reminds her she promised to be a friend. Audra says it will never be more than that. He can't rekindle something between them. Holden insists he has nothing but respect for her connection with Nate. Unlike how he felt about Tucker, he asks why she keeps pushing him away, yet accepts invitations for coffee. She's sending mixed messages. Audra sighs. He's right. There's something I need to come clean about. Audra tells Holden that Nate saw his message and returned the text saying, "You've got one," when he asked to have her as a friend. Holden asks why Nate would do that. Audra can only imagine. He was trying to prove he wasn't jealous. Holden asks what she would have said if Nate hadn't spoken for her. Audra's not sure. She's not opposed to having a friendship with him, but she can't trust him not to take advantage of the situation. Holden gives her his word. Audra's still skeptical. Holden asks her to have lunch with him. Audra claims she's waiting for Nate. Holden says that's perfect. He won't mind if he stays and joins her for lunch. Audra chides that he's pushing his luck. He grins. Damian shows up at Nate's. At Nate's place, Lily is close to signing a new artist. Devin notes she's moving into his side of the business. She will let them know more details when the ink dries. Devin's glad she came on board. Lily also has news about a big tour. Devin and Nate needle that she's just trying to show off now. A knock comes at the door. It's Damian. He asks Nate if it's true that his mom's been admitted to a hospital in Chicago. Nate frowns. Is she all right? Damian hopes there's no cause for alarm. All he knows is she was admitted. She said something about a new experimental treatment. Nate's taken aback. The last he heard she was waiting to hear if she was a viable candidate. Damian thinks he's out of the loop. Nate checks his phone and learns that Amy and Dr. Kelly both tried to reach him. He steps out to call back. Damian apologizes to Lily and Devin for interrupting their meeting. He wonders why they had to admit his mother so quickly. Devin thinks it's good they're not wasting time. Damian admits he's nervous. Damian says What if he's been been through through this this before? Losing a parent too soon. It's traumatizing. Lily tells him she and Devin have been through it too. They understand. Devin thinks Amy felt confident enough to consent to the treatment. Nate appears and says that's right. They're treating her and monitoring her for a reaction. Dr. Kelly thought it best to start the protocol right away. Damian worries they're rushing Amy into this, but Nate says she's in the best possible hands. Damian worries about not being there with her. He'd like to try and get there before it begins. Nate feels she'd love to have him by her side. He suggests they both go to Chicago so they can be there before she's released. Damian thinks that's a great idea. Lily and Divin assure Nate they can cover for him while he's gone. Damian tells them it means a lot that his brother can be there with him. Nate announces he'll have to let Audra know he can't make it for lunch because he's going to Chicago with his brother. At society, Holden tries to coax Audra into another drink, and she informs him he's trying too hard and won't be having lunch with her and Nate. Just then, Nate calls and updates her that he and Damian are going to Chicago. She knows Amy will love having them both there and asks him to give the woman her love. She disconnects and Holden muses, "It looks like you're free after all." At Nate's place, Devin asks Damian how he likes Genoa City so far. He finds it charming. It's hard not to fall in love with the people. Lily's sure it's far from the glamour of there. Damian chuckles. Clearly she doesn't know much about his life there. Talk turns to Amy having lived there years ago. Damian wonders why she left or didn't come back to stay. It feels like a good fit for her. Devin thinks he should ask her. After their father passed, there were a ton of questions they'd have liked to have had the opportunity to ask. Damian is focused on her health for now. Nate appears with a bag and Lily and Devin leave. Damian asks Nate if they can stop by the club, so he can get a bag too. Nate says of course. Damian shakes his hand and thanks him for everything. Nate smiles. Holden gets Audra reminiscing. At society, Audra and Holden move to a table, and he pushes her again to have another drink. She resists, and he muses about the fun-loving Audra from Lay. She says that version of her doesn't exist anymore. Holden doesn't believe her. Audra doesn't care. Holden reminds her of their boozy lunches at El Coyote. Audra groans and complains about him ordering margaritas by the pitcher. Holden laughs about her singing Metallica songs at the top of her lungs. That was fun. Audra laughs, it was. Just then, Devin and Lily walk in. They ask to be let in on the joke. Audra changes the subject to Nate going to Chicago with Damian. Lily says they just came from his place. Introductions are made, and Holden says he met Lily before but not Devin. Audra hopes Amy's treatment will turn things around for her. She's grown to care about her a lot. There's something about her that warms her heart. Lily snarks that she seems brighter lately, what with the laughing and joking. They trot off and Holden tells Audra that it doesn't seem Nate's family has warmed up to her. At their table, Lily asks Devin what he thinks that was all about. A Victor encounter. Kyle and Summer walk into the GCHC and immediately encounter Victor, who greets his beautiful granddaughter and says hello to Kyle. He asks why the two of them are together. Summer says Claire bailed on lunch with Kyle, so she took him for a mercy meal. Victor asks Kyle how things are going at Jabat. Kyle says things are going very well. He and Summer head to their table, but Kyle walks back. There's no way he's happy things are going well between him and his dad at Jabat. Why is he asking about Jabat? What are you really trying to find out? He obviously wants to know if there's trouble brewing between him and Jack. What is this obsession you have with my family? Why can't he just move on? Victor claims he's forgotten about all of them and tells him to have a nice day. Nate and Damian walk into the foyer of the club and Damian heads upstairs to get his bag. Nate leaves Amy a message letting her know he and Damian are coming to Chicago and will see her soon. In the foyer, Nate lets Damian know that he left Amy a voicemail. Damian thanks him again for all he's done. Now they just need the treatment to work its magic. Nate knows this hasn't been easy for Damian, but it might have a happier ending than any of them could have imagined. Damian would like that. Nate claps his shoulder, have faith. At society, Devin tells Lily not to read too much into Audra and Holden's lunch. They knew each other and Nate doesn't need them interfering. Lily thinks this new scenario is coming into Nate's life from all sides. She worries it's an ambush and senses there's a lot more to the story than what Damian